what we looked at and included some work there as well. After we'd seen some plans, I guess, from another firm that had looked at this some time ago.
Now, I bring up those plans from some time ago. I remember that the cost of construction at those plans was much less than what we're projecting now. Is there a reason for that, or, I mean, what's the difference, I guess, in those estimates?
Sure. Some of that's gonna be inflation. You know, it just costs more to build things. That John and I were talking.
MoDOT is painfully aware of that question, and
Yeah.
whenever they talk about the fact that they haven't had a increase in the gas tax since the mid-90s, they say, guys, it's like 3 times more expensive to build. The asphalt has gone up that much more than that. Reinforcing steel has more than doubled in that period. You know, that was what, early 2000s when that was designed, originally 2004 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And we did actually have some very good bid numbers on a very similar job in Columbia that we had just gotten back. So we were, I think, able to provide some pretty accurate current costs.
Okay.
Discovery Drive on the south part of Columbia.
Current and comparable in terms of the length of the corridor.
Oh, okay.
And also the pavement type that's in that industrial park down on Discovery Ridge, 63, so you're looking at a potential heavier duty pavement.
Was that Marshall design, was it 38 or was it 32?
Yeah, it was at 38. And it actually, I think, was shifted a little further to the east than what we're showing. The effort on our part was to try to only have negotiations with one property owner rather than getting 2 in the subdivision and then the 2 on the east side.
Another question I had is, as you build that half, that 20 foot in the center, as you get towards the Highway 22, would be possible, I guess, build that one the full width up until that intersection, and then half the road the rest of the way north? I mean,
Taper it down.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would probably be.
Yeah, I mean, you need to do something to account for the turning radius of the big
Right,
trucks.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, access to that subdivision too, I don't want them driving on half the road for, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you connect it, yeah, that would be a consideration, sir.
All right, thanks.
Because if you built the center, you'd almost have to make it wider there, so
Right, right. Okay,
we're not gonna leave it down.
right. Thank you.
One of the reasons to do this is to make that connection too. So.
Yeah.
One of the other things that's a more pressing issue now is stormwater pollution prevention. You know, you have to be a lot more careful with how you build things and
Right.
ensure that sediment doesn't leave the site. And while it's a fairly narrow construction site, it's long, so it doesn't take long to get up to an acre, which is the DNR minimum of disturbance to require that stuff.
And we assume the SWIP for this, right?
Yeah.
Or stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Thank you.
Sure.
So if we proceeded with what we could do is send out a full 38-foot wide option with a 20-foot wide center option. And I mean, obviously the 20-foot wide is going to be less. If we get some ridiculously, you know, if the conditions are favorable for a bid and we get something ridiculously low and we can put together the CDBG grant, the money we have set aside already, and then funds from the reserves in the dedicated sales tax for transportation, that would give us enough to be able to construct that road. And then if we get it down to $500,000, we're not tapping into next year's. So the people in Mays Meadows would get their assuming we get that road ready to go, that people in Mays Meadows will be on the 2018, summer of 2018 plan.
Is it 20-foot width, would that be one pass with a paving machine, or is that two passes?
That's
I
gonna
would imagine it would be two.
Because you're gonna have to crown.
Yeah.
How much would it cost to come back later and make it wider, if you have to?
Depends how long it was.
Then you got a problem, don't you?
What's that?
Well, it's gonna be more expensive to do.
Yeah,
it
it'll
than-
cost
Then you,
more.
then you wished you'd had made it wide, the right width. I'm saying, all of a sudden this becomes an industrial park, and you got this, and you got that, and you got traffic, and then you gotta make the road wider, then you got a problem. You wish, again, that's gonna be an expensive fix, isn't it?
It will cost more per area to build if you're.
Instead of doing it the first time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the total cost, and, you know, they're not gonna stay the same from this construction season to next either, so there's gonna be inflation, there's gonna be.
Yeah.
But by same token, is, you know, depending on how it develops, some of it could be, picked up, if this comes forward with a development plan, that would almost certainly be a subdivision, and there would be some requirement for, infrastructure, like
Infrastructure improvements.
eventually,
Make the cost up.
right,
Yeah.
eventually Columbia Street will be built south, because that's the last phase of that subdivision.
Eventually.
Yeah, it'll happen. So some of those costs could be, incurred by a developer in that sum. And, you know, and then similarly, if, you know, depending on how, if other lots are divided, and that was subdivided, they could, be responsible for those some costs.
But all the base work
Right.
should be already done. You know, just the, process of coming in, scraping the top layer of gravel off and pouring the other 2 8-foot lanes or 12-foot lanes or whatever they are. And then, going from there.
Yeah, and it could be designed in such a manner that there wouldn't be additional design costs, it would be, you know, just making sure that things were built as they were laid out.
Yeah. And then as, a couple of 2-3 years later, we get some more money, they get another, expansion,
Exactly. And if it comes with additional jobs created, we could go back to the same well.
Right, get another grant for the rest of the road.
That's assuming the CDBG program is still running.
Yeah. So, some thoughts.
Is there anything we should have asked you that
When you start. It's challenging because infrastructure is
Right.
just expensive. And, you look at a road that doesn't seem very long, and that seems like an awful lot of money, but it's just the kind of world we're in. I mean, it does cost. Especially if you're gonna, I like what you said about doing it right. You like to do it the optimal way. I think it makes a lot more sense to make sure you get the right pavement in here, even if it's narrower, than to try to skimp on the pavement quality. Those are options, and we can, in a more detailed design environment, talking about things like, what did we talk about? Roller compacted concrete or compacted concrete. Those are options that are used oftentimes in kind of industrial environments, not so much for roadways, for stabilizing large properties, and it's not the greatest ride, and you don't have the longevity necessarily. But those can be just discussed in a design atmosphere a little bit, and maybe affect your.
Have you guys worked on an infrastructure project in CDBG, with CDBG before? And I guess my question is, do you think, maybe that's a question for the RPC, but writing the grant, but would any of those options, is that something
Would they run
they
into?
care about?
I don't think that would run into any kind of
think so.
pick up. Those are more design decisions.
Right.
I don't think, I don't think the Discovery Drive extension was CDBG. It did get economic development funding. I think it was just from a different pool, yeah. Now, that was also additional payments, so we
Right.
didn't get into those times.
Any other questions?
What's the estimated length of time from start to finish of the construction period? I know it's depending on weather and, you know, some environmental concerns, but the ballpark, I guess, estimate.
Yeah. No tree removal, so.
Those poles, maybe,
Yeah.
it's some bad roots.
But those ones north are ours, so.
Mhm.
Measure, yes.
I mean, you wouldn't, what's the time frame? It kind of depends on what the time frame of the need is.
Let's
So
say
what's
till-
the state gonna
Yeah.
turn around their
Yeah.
funding, and then what's the manufacturing company need to serve their expansion,
Well, let's say we sold you Go on August 4th.
right?
I mean, that time of year makes some difference because,
We definitely have design ready for you by the next construction season. I mean, you're not gonna build in December, so
you're right.
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah, and I think a construction season would get the work done, certainly.
Mhm.
So you won't have it done by Christmas?
with the bow? The cost, you can do that.
There's no
in
monetary
cold
reason
weather.
why they couldn't get it done by Christmas, but.
It's just all, it just can cost a little bit more money if you gotta
Yeah.
deal with cold weather and.
Well, supposing we were starting today in optimal weather, well, I don't know optimal, but say April 1 or September 1, you get, how long is it taking to pave that site? How long does that project take typically, you think, for, once it's started?
See, this is where you get into the Ross Castman, who's done an awful lot of private commercial work.
Right.
They can do it really quickly.
Okay.
I've focused a lot more on the public sector in my career,
Right.
and my answer would be, that kind of depends on your agency you get your funds from, because we can move very quickly in design.
Right.
Contractors can be incentivized to move very quickly. This is a time of year where they're not necessarily always looking for work. So whether it would be a good time for you to bid that kind of a project, we'd probably say, look for a better time of year.
Right.
Okay.
But none of that matters if the agency tells you, we got 3 weeks or 3 months. I mean, those,
Right.
they have more red tape than we do.
Yeah.
Or,
No,
it sounds
that's-
negative, it's just,
that's-
you know what I'm
that's fine.
saying, they have a
Yeah,
process
yeah.
they have to go through, they probably will determine that more than we would,
Right.
on what your schedule would be.
Now, hot days, would you make them run it through the chiller? If we did concrete chiller plant?
You could add ice, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options, you can pour early and pour overnight.
We are of the opinion, and you mentioned, that you've seen a lot of concrete that doesn't really last. A lot of that's just how you deal with quality assurance process up front. You make some design and then actually watching it, testing it in the field. And, there are times when you have to cool off concrete. But that just goes with what's the quality going in.
Your cost of $74,000 for engineering, does that include the construction and inspection, the pulling the cylinders and that kind of thing, or?
Probably didn't do the construction phase. did you?
I did not include the construction phase,
Okay.
no, sir.
Okay. So would that be in the construction phase somewhere, or is there's some more costs, probably slightly more costs? Those aren't.
It's
in
a
the
pretty
big
minor
picture.
cost, yeah, I mean.
Probably looking at a level of detail we can get to.
Right, because then we're talking, not the, maybe a couple thousand dollars total for the whole project for that, so.
Correct.
Yeah, you're not pouring for 3 weeks.
And since you have your own shop for doing that stuff also. Okay.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank you, John. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate you coming up.
No problem. Yep.
Have a good meeting.
All right. You're welcome to stay if you like.
Exactly.
Riveting.
Is that, can we see it on TV instead?
It will be
last
on YouTube in about a week.
Yeah.
We'll get together and watch it.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Just pop up.
Moving on to public safety. Fire Department, activity reports in your packet?
I want to say thank you to David Wilkins, for all that work he did in dispatch. But, thank you.
I think it came out really well.
It looks great. Looks very
It
good.
just, I don't know how much money it saved us, but regardless of that, it saved us someone credible that cared, that put it in, that actually knew what they were talking about.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on the activity report? Hearing none, moving on to the presentation by Officer Delaney on, is it Axon?
Axon.
Axon? Okay.
First, thank you. So, probably most of you are familiar with the name Taser. Axon is the parent company of Taser, and in an effort to expand their market reach, they now have the Taser Flex cams and all this. So, everything that you'll see from now on is Axon, but it's still Taser. Same company, same everything, but we'll put that out there. I'm figuring most of you guys don't have a vast knowledge of Taser. So I have a very brief video. It's only about 2-3 minutes, but it kind of gives you a good overview of Taser and where they've come from and where they're going. So I'll just start with that.
(1974), the Taser TF-76 introduces the world to the concept of the conducted electrical weapon. While the TF-76 was a technological breakthrough, it did not live up to the promise of causing incapacitation, producing only a disorienting shock. Aggressive or focused subjects could fight through its effects. It would take another 20 years of research and development to perfect Taser technology, with the introduction of the M26 in 1999, with patented neuromuscular incapacitation, or NMI, which specifically targeted the motor nerves that control muscular movement, causing physical incapacitation of even the most focused, aggressive subjects. The M26 used a simple, high-voltage blood pulse to penetrate through the skin and clothing barriers around the body, a process that accounted for over 90% of energy consumed. In 2003, shaped pulse technology was designed to use a highly refined energy pulse delivered in 2 phases. The first, called the arc phase, used a small, high-voltage pulse to penetrate across skin and clothing barriers, forming a connection to the body. The second, stimulation phase, flowed freely across this arc through the barrier, delivering the electrical charge needed to incapacitate the target. Shaped pulse technology reduced the power required for NMI by 80%, allowing a dramatically smaller, more portable taser called the X26. The smaller size of the X26 allowed it to fit on the belt and revolutionized law enforcement for over 500,000 public safety officers who carry it today. 10 years after the original X26, we are upgrading the Taser platform with the new 2013 Smart Taser weapons, featuring an all-digital architecture, making Taser devices more robust, safer, and more effective than ever before. These smart tasers use enhanced shaped pulse technology with charge metering, an advanced calibration system that measures and adjusts the output of each pulse. Inside the 2003 model X26, an analog gas tube controlled each output pulse. There was no way to measure or adjust the magnitude of the electrical output, which was fixed at one factory setting. The newer smart taser weapons utilize an SCR, or silicon-controlled rectifier, which measures the electrical output almost 20 times every second, constantly adjusting the output levels for precise charge delivery. When probes from an analog taser weapon puncture through the skin and clothing, There is a direct connection to the conductive fluids within the body, and the full output charge is delivered. However, if the probes are lodged in the clothing, there is much more electrical resistance as the electricity has to arc across the gap to connect to the body. Because of this higher resistance, less of a charge from the shaped pulse is delivered. Newer smart taser weapons measure how much charge actually flows through the circuit in each pulse, and adjusts the energy of the next pulse to deliver a calibrated amount of electric charge, while maintaining a significantly improved safety margin. In addition to charge metering, smart taser systems provide advanced data recording capabilities and trilogy logs with 3 components: operator actions, electrical output logs, and engineering logs with maintenance or error alerting. With built-in calibration and charge metering, the new smart taser line is better than ever, so there's no practical need to incur the logistics cost of taking units off the street to send them to a lab for calibration testing. Smarter, more effective, even safer. Welcome to the new line of smart taser weapons.
So that just kind of gives you a brief overview of where Taser started in the 70s and where they've come now. So what we're here asking for tonight is we would like to upgrade our Tasers. Currently, the most common Taser that we have in service right now is the X26. This is one that up until a week ago was in service. That's what happens whenever I pull the trigger. Absolutely nothing. This one is completely dead. It's out of service, we cannot use it. The others, because of the age of the weapons, they're on their way out too. The one I carry, because I've used Taser a lot, the rate of the pulse I can tell is low, which means the high circuit board is on its way out. So probably within 6 months, the one I carry will be out of service. We have 2 more that are in very similar situations. We're at a point that in order for us to be safe out there and do our jobs effectively, we need to do an upgrade. I've worked with Axon, and they've got a really great program right now. It's called the Taser 60 plan. Through this plan, we retire all of our X26 weapons. We get a $100 credit per unit. So that brings our initial cost down. In order to get 8 brand new X2 weapons, which is this weapon. It's the latest and greatest thing that Taser's come out with. The beauty of this is it will be the technology that's going to be used for the next 10 plus years. There is an intermediate model between these called the X26P. From all the rumors that I've heard through the Axon group, probably in the next 8 to 10 years, somewhere in that range, they're going to phase that model out to go strictly to the X2 model. So looking at along.
Quick question, how old are the ones that we have now, the X26s?
The ages range 10 plus years in some cases. Some of them are a little bit newer. I think we look back, we purchased 2 in the last 2 years, something like that.
Okay.
So we still have a couple that are a little bit newer.
Most of those were here when I got here.
Okay,
Much to the
that's kind of what I thought.
It's been 10 years.
That's what I thought. Thanks.
So as the video kind of addressed, one thing that you guys are going to be interested in, with the newer technology, it's much more effective. One of the beauties of this weapon is we're able to do what's called an arc display without ever firing probes. Another police department in Ohio, I believe it was, said they've gone to all X2s. Since then, when displaying an arc display, they have not had to use probe deployment. It is incredibly effective that just that arc warning people that, well, never mind, I'll do what you say.
Right.
So it greatly reduces the city's liability of having to actually do deployments. And the beauty of Taser, they have a legal team that is ferocious. They have been sued so many times and won in most of them. And if we have a Taser deployment and somebody wants to sue us, they're going to have their people right there beside the city's attorneys defending their technology, defending what it does, as long as we're operating within their guidelines, which I've been to the training and we're getting everybody up to speed. And with the new Tasers, Friday, hopefully we get that approved tonight. Everybody will go through an additional training to upgrade to the X2. So
that's in the agreement, right? The legal team.
Yes. That that taser stood by that. I'll be honest, I've been sued in federal court over taser usage, and once the individual learned that taser was going to have their attorneys there, it quickly got dropped, and we never even saw the light of the courtroom. But taser and Axon are fantastic. They've got tons and tons. I've got an entire CD that has all sorts of medical and legal research on it. If you want it, let me know. I'll be glad to share it with you. But I'm sure what you guys are most interested in knowing is the numbers. What's it going to cost? So the Taser 60 is for 60 months. It's a 5-year plan. Okay, for the 8 new tasers, and this is everything that we need. It includes holsters, cartridges, training cartridges, unlimited cartridges throughout the 5 years. So we have to do annual training. Every officer has to deploy a minimum of 2. My preference is that we're going to do at least 4 cartridges per year. We wouldn't go to the range and shoot 2 bullets out of our handgun and say, yep, you're good. We're far more likely to use our taser than our firearm. I think training is very important on that. So with this unlimited plan, we're able to do 4 cartridges per year per officer, unlimited batteries, any deployments in the field, taser replaces those cartridges, no additional cost to us. This is a total cost. There will be no additional expenses over the 5 years. Everything's covered. If they break, taser repairs them or replaces them. So in our first year, it's $2,959.03. And that's 8 brand new tasers of the X2s, cartridges, holsters, the whole 9 yards. After that, it's $3,900, $355 for the next 4 years, for a total of $18,771.07 over the lifetime of the 5 years. Being it broke down, I think that's a pretty palatable number to swallow. We had a discussion with Matt on Friday, pretty positive. I think we've got the funds available in one of our accounts that we can allocate to this first year expense. And then, of course, we have time over the next 4 years to make sure that within the budget that's accounted for. Is there any questions? Does anybody want to take a CEW exposure?
What were those two
Is there
costs again?
anybody else out there that sells, I mean, this is the best deal you're gonna get, right?
There is some companies that make similar weapons, however, they do not have the legal backing and they do not have the scientific backing. Matt actually brought that up, and I was sitting in the chief's office, and my response was, I will not carry it. I will carry nothing compared to carrying a taser, because for personal liability, taser protects the officer as well. So
they're the only ones that really back their,
yes,
and want to defend.
Ryan,
sir.
tell them what a new, whatever that new Cadillac model is there.
Outright,
Yeah, outright. We're just gonna.
it's about
buy the
$1,200 if
You can buy one of them.
yes, it's about $1,200 off the shelf without any programs, and that doesn't include the $70 for the holster,
Right.
$33 per cartridge, the $60 for the battery.
No training or any of that.
Actually, you guys are fortunate, you've already paid for the training. I went last month to Axon's instructor school down in Springfield, had a great 2 days with Chris Johns from the Springfield Police Department. Learned a lot.
That was a train to trainer, wasn't it? So
Yes,
you're-
sir.
You're now
Yes.
back to train
Yeah.
everybody else.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. So I can train anybody on any platform of taser at this point.
Ryan, show them, we had a question here a minute ago, the battery itself. What makes the instrument go?
Sure.
Try to point that towards the far corner over there. If you could,
Yeah.
Ryan. Nothing
So-
confuses me more.
This is it's called a Performance Power Pack magazine. It's 3 lithium-ion batteries crammed in here. Each battery provides 500 cycles. So if we're testing them every single day, looking at a little bit more than a year and a half on each battery. So over that 5 years, each unit, we would have to replace the battery 3 times. So if we did not go with the unlimited plan, that's $170 per unit over that 5 years. So that cost really starts to add up. And I really did do a lot of math on this and really broke it down to make sure okay, is this unlimited plan just a gimmick that Taser's trying to put out there to get more money from us, or is it really gonna save us money? And it's gonna save us about $3,000 over the 5 years, and to do this program, it's gonna save us about $4,000 of just purchasing everything outright. So there is significant savings, especially considering that my contact at Axon, I asked him, I said, so Taser requires 2 cartridges. I don't think that's enough. Can we get more? He's like, yeah, you just call me. I'll list them as duty cartridges and we'll get them shipped out to you, no problem. So they're really great to work with. If we want to do 5 cartridges per officer per year, they're not gonna have a problem with that. So, like I said, I really did do a lot of math on that to try and make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, and really something that's going to put us in a position to not have to upgrade again at the end of this 5 years. This should get us at least 10, 12 years down the road before we start having replacement issues or anything of that nature. And the technology is going to be the same. It's not going to outdate, and we're not going to run into the fact where this Taser no longer produces. So to even have this worked on costs more than what the unit's worth. I mean, just chuck this in the trash and you're back. It's good.
So after the 5 years, after we're done with this plan, we keep these tasers, and then we start having to buy replacement cartridges and batteries and all that stuff? Or?
We can do just the unlimited cartridge plan at that point.
Okay.
We'll be on 2022 pricing at that point, so there could be a small increase. But by the same token, if this is no longer the latest and greatest thing, we might actually see a price decrease. You know, 5 years down the road is a long time, especially in world technology.
Right.
But yes, we can negotiate a new contract for another 5-year term to lock us into pricing. That's one good thing about this unlimited plan.
Okay.
It's locked us into actually what's 2016 pricing. They haven't updated their pricing yet. So.
Perfect. Thanks.
With the used cartridges, I mean, that one obviously does, the newest one. How many cartridges do we go through in a year?
If we just do the minimum of the 2 cartridges per
We do
unit,
the
it's
training,
24.
but then on top, I'm just thinking of.
Actual deployment.
How many we actually deploy?
Yeah.
Honestly, this isn't going to sell my case too well, but normally the display of the Taser gains compliance.
Oh, no,
So in the year that I've been here, we've had 0 deployments in the field. Chief would probably be better to answer for a longer term than that. Have we had any in the last 5 years? Well, I know we've had a couple.
5, yes.
Yeah.
I told Bob not to do it, did you? Was that guy it's been, you know?
Well, I know Jeff and I were on that 2 years ago.
Well, how many times have you fired your, how many,
No, I mean,
how many times have you fired our police?
Yeah, we,
Not very many.
I think that, his name shot on there, that's been 4 or 5 years ago,
This week. Since Monday. This is Monday.
It was at least 4 because Jeff Grimes was still in
okay, there you go. I think that's the last full
Well,
deal we've
Jeff had a
had.
roll mine a little over a year ago out there.
Oh, yeah, with that house, yeah, we did, yeah.
So I'd say probably 4 or 5, averaging about 1 a year.
Apparently not enough.
a non-lethal way of subduing someone is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Absolutely.
you know,
When I was in Fulton, Myrma really wanted to have that technology out there in the hands of police officers. We, you know, one thing, since this is an agreement, I imagine we have to do this in a week with an ordinance, because it's an
I
agreement.
think that's probably the proper way. I mean, I don't know, I'm not in your business, I'm in my business, but I think that's the proper way.
It's about, the cost we've been spending in the previous years, this year we probably spend, I don't know, what's it, $800, $700 more than we have in the past several years. Now, next year it'll be another 1,000.
Right.
But we have to compare to the entire police budget and having a non-lethal way to having non-lethal weapons. The idea is to have it never use it, having the good machinery that would be there to work for you when it's needed.
Absolutely.
the case that I referred to where I actually went to federal court, it was a case that I had arrested a DWI defense attorney for DWI. and he wouldn't get in the car. He was handcuffed, but would not get in the car. We tried to use physical force, and finally it just dawned on me, he's trying to get her. That is his goal. He's looking for a lawsuit out of this. So I displayed the taser, gave him 3 warnings, ended up deploying the taser, and it did its job incredibly effectively. Hit him, caused the neuromuscular incapacitation where he could not stand up any longer, fell into the backseat of the car. We closed the door, went to jail, and there was no serious physical injury to him whatsoever. So in those instances where you have that person that is dead set on, I'm not going to do what you say, you're going to have to physically force me, that's the real beauty of the taser weapons over a baton or OC spray, because it causes that muscular incapacitation where they cannot control their body. We can have a second officer come in, it's called cuffing under power, so while the taser is being deployed, they can come in and apply the handcuffs while that person has no control of their body, and at the end of that 5 seconds, we're safe and secure. Everybody's good. And
Provides for compliance.
any other questions?
It also reduces the number of fights where police officers end up.
Work comp,
Work comp.
yes. In these days,
What did you say the prices were for the first year and the next 4 years?
Don't worry about that right now, Jamie.
We're gonna have a demonstration.
in this day and age, look at they used to teach, I don't know anything about these. Back in office, that's my age. They used to teach, you know, say you gotta tackle somebody landing sides, and he somehow misses the darts, okay? Well, they used to teach it, called a drive,
Stun.
a drive stun, where now I'm gonna run up in there and try to fight him, and then give him the electroshock treatment, whatever you wanna call it. You're just begging for a work comp claim there. Well, that's old business now, there is no more.
Not to mention you don't get the spread of the electrodes.
Right, right, you're just,
The drive stun, they figured out, is a pain compliance technique.
Yeah.
It does not cause the neuromuscular incapacitation.
Right.
So, back to the X2, kind of what Chief was alluding to, we do have 2 cartridges loaded at all times in semi-automatic mode. Everybody in our department, the first question was, do you really expect to engage 2 people at the same time? No. Taser found out that, especially with running targets, moving targets, it was likely to get at least a 1 probe miss. The beauty of this, you have a second one ready to go, you get a second one. If you get both darts, great. As long as you have one of the top darts and one of the bottom darts from either cartridge on a person, you get the circuit completed and you get the neuromuscular incapacitation. So, far, far more advanced than where Taser ever started. Whenever I went to training, we got to shoot a ton of these. One thing that I really liked about this particular weapon, if you notice, there's a bottom laser that blinks. That is your bottom probe location. On the old weapons, you had a single laser. So, on a front deployment, Taser does not recommend anywhere near the heart, and obviously no groin area, things like that. So there was 25 of us going through this class. I noticed so many dark heart and groin shots with the single laser, because it goes back to our firearms training. You see center mass, and that's where you go. That second laser, almost everybody had perfect dart placement. It was that nice reminder to get offline, center, split the belt line, you get great deployment. So from a tactical deployment standard, I really like the X2 for that as well.
How far away can you be from them to be effective?
We'll purchase 25-foot cartridges for the weapon, so ideally you'd be within about 20. You want some slack on the lines. If they're taut, it's very easy to turn and break the wire. But within 20, Taser recommends anywhere from 7 to 10 feet, which is consistent with our defensive tactics training as well. We want a 10 to 15-foot reactionary gap. So from me to you would be an ideal distance.
I asked your, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
For all that. Mathematically, I have had more yesterdays than I will tomorrow as the chief And I think this takes us into the 10 years without having to take that bite. You know, you plan the best you can, and then all of a sudden something happens to a taser or two, and you don't have any money to fix it.
Right.
Well, how you gonna send an officer out there doing that? I don't wanna borrow my sack of rocks. I just ask your consideration to offer this up and put this as an ordinance, however you do it, for next, or for our full,
Next week.
yes.
Motion to draft an ordinance to approve an agreement with Axon.
Right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Thank you
carried.
very much. Thank you, and thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Matt, there's one change that I need to get from Axon. There's a piece of equipment they have listed that we already have. As soon as I get that, I'll mail it over to you so that you have it.
Okay. Any other from the police department?
I want to say thank you to the fire department for our recent fest on the house. They do a yeoman's job up there, helping folks too at that, in our tent area. I want to thank Rogers Rental. They gave us a tent to use, and it was,
Thank you.
it was destroyed by a guy backed over one of the legs. It's just not.
You're acting surprised.
You did tell me before just now, right?
Yeah, that real nice tent that Rogers Rental said, here, you boys take this, because ours was blown over in the flood last year. So, anyway, it's just a taxing time for everyone, and,
So you'll be asking for a certificate of insurance next year, I'm guessing?
I'll try to take care of Rogers Reynolds as we go forward this year. But, yes, that tent was killed in action. And, really good work on part of Ryan Delaney too, with respect to he and another officer happened to be walking around during that late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and caught that woman red-handed stealing stuff from the tents. That was labor-intensive all Sunday to get that stuff separated and get that stuff back to its rightful owner. But I think we recovered 99.9% of it and got it back to those vendors, and they were just happy as. So, we got her transported. No worse for her.
She wasn't from around here, was she?
No, short answer is no. She gave us an official address of Conroe, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Nothing around here, no.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate it. That's all I have, unless somebody's got something.
Thank you, sir. Fire department activity report. Information's in your packet. Any questions or comments?
Since the Anchorfest is technically in this month, how does this year's Anchorfest compared to last year's in terms of excitement for your guys?
The same old stuff. It never changes.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah. Little kids hurt, kids lost, it's all the same. And also some grown-ups that are
Lost.
inebriated a little bit here and there.
No.
Lost.
Passed out.
Really?
Ask them why, they say, well, we only had 3 Monster Energy drinks. Wow. That's all we've had today. It's pretty crazy.
Notice you got some of the, work done on the, new shed that you're building? Or got the trees taken out by the
Yes.
fire department?
Yeah, on the side of the east side of the building, we got it kind of cleaned up where
Yeah.
trees were growing into the building and
Yeah.
they give us a little gravel the other day, got the dumpster over there now.
Okay.
We're moving forward with that.
Yeah.
We also, under other, we've got, we have ordered, replacement pagers, which was in the budget for this year, on the manger. Those are on their way. They just have to arrive, get programmed, and get put into service.
Anything else for the fire department?
Yeah.
There's a headline right there, thank you very much. Time for you to go yet?
Hearing nothing more, emergency management. Changing the name of the east-west segment of Randolph Road to Roland Street.
Even if we don't go forward with the Randolph Road extension, I would like to go ahead with this. This is something that Lynn had on his desk. It's not something that I've come up with. I've talked about it with the 911 staff. If we ever want to move forward with Randolph Road extension, it would be good to get this changed before anyone builds anything on Randolph, that section of Randolph Street. Having a 90-degree bend in a street and keeping its name is not ideal. Yeah. So the first part of this would be to draft a resolution to proceed and ask for it to be advertised and all the notice sent out. So that would be something, that resolution could be on the agenda at the next meeting, but I don't want to get ahead of the Board of Aldermen, but I would, if somebody wants to make a motion to prepare that resolution and get started with the beginning of that segment.
Would that change anybody's address?
No, not yet. That's why we want to.
Before they start building.
Exactly.
Before they
That's,
build,
it would not change anybody's address today.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so it's instructions to draft a resolution for this meeting.
Yep.
Anything else for emergency management? Moving on to protective inspection, dangerous buildings update.
You may have noticed the second building is going down on Railroad Street. That is, they're not the one we'd most like to see go down Railroad Street. However, we do have a draft letter that's going out to, which I know should have been done a month ago, but we're gonna get on that. And also, Sam's gonna help me get the church officially reinstated with the state Secretary of State so they can take an action, and that action would be to sell their building to a willing builder. So we should be able to get both of those demolished before the snow falls. And got comments back from Protective Inspection about the letter I had drafted to send out to De La Rosa. They suggested cutting it down, so. But I hope to get that out tomorrow. I know you guys have asked a lot about that, and I know that he has all pathways towards reconstruction have been cut off. We gave him a chance to get a building permit. He took a building permit. That building permit was not acted upon, so that is done. He has construction is no longer an option. And I think that he's come to the same conclusion, which makes it easy.
Yep.
It's about making it safe. It's not about.
Right.
It's not about winning over. It's just getting it safe. For me.
Anything else for protective inspection?
Oh, I noticed Sam went out and did the counting of houses for sale, and we probably, what was the 26 houses, which is very low in terms of housing stock available for sale. Most of the builders are they're not building on spec, they're building on specific requests. People are buying lots, not houses right now.
Right behind me,
Yeah. So, this just, it's good and bad news. If you wanna move here, it's hard to find a house that's already built for sale, but there are people who wanna be here. That's the flip side of that.
You could have a neighbor.
All right, moving on to general government and finance, economic development.
No meeting this month for the chamber, we've already seen the minutes, so the other economic development we talking about. Oh, we received today an application from the same person, from Chris Finken, for an EEZ abatement, for his construction. So
Okay.
he definitely wants to move forward, so the road, this is probably going to happen, and he really wants to move forward, the road would really help.
Park board, there are minutes, or there's an agenda and minutes from the May meeting in your packet.
Mr. Wilkins?
Yeah.
I have one customer over there I'm gonna check on. It's causing me a little grief and discomfort. And thank you all. Give some discussion at some point. I'm getting quite a little bit of play on the, on our used car out there. Decided what we're gonna do with that. I'm getting a little bit of play on that, and, folks asked me what they ought to bid, and I said, I'm really kind of deal. So,
$96,000, okay.
maybe get your checkbook out. But,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions on the park board? Cemetery report. There is a report for cemetery donations collected Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, I neglected there was back on Roland Street, there was a very good memo list for this. I hope you all read it, about changing the name of the streets. I neglected to say that earlier, sorry. Good memo.
I totally different section of the.
I know, I was just trying to hurry because we took so long so far, so I'll shut up.
Where was the, donations from the cemetery?
It's right after the park board. Meeting minutes.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Wow. That's very good.
Yeah. Tree board report, I assume there is none. Library board, an agenda is in your packet. And the meeting minutes. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to the May 2017 financial statements.
Still too early to make any real, but,
The fraud report?
Lori Myers is here as well. What I wanted to say is that, in an open meeting is that we, as some of you already know in some depth, 4 checks were fraudulent checks were created by somebody. They were cashed at 4 different banks in 3 different states. They did not closely resemble a city of Centralia check, however, being cashed in different locations, and all of them were below a threshold that, if you know how banking works, would typically not require an individual check inspection. The city will not be out any funds. Between insurance and other promises from banks, we are not going to end up being out any funds. The total amount of all the checks combined was well under $10,000. So that's the scope of this. We just wanted to come out and we actually this past Friday talked with the mayor and Alderman Wilkins, and they figured the best thing to do instead of having a closed session. Our staff did what they were supposed to, our bank did what they were supposed to. This is, and Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, about as common as shoplifting now. And it's about as difficult to catch everyone who shoplifted. There is an ongoing criminal investigation. We started with the Centralia Police Department. They quickly elevated it to a federal level. But like shoplifting, I'm not gonna promise you we're gonna catch the bad guys, but the person at fault here is the person who developed this scheme to cash illegal fraudulent debts. And we're gonna do what we can. We are moving forward with both a positive pay, which has already been started because we got a call today about a check to Signs Now. Their corporate identity is different than the DBA, and we had to look up and see what the company that cashed the check was indeed related to Signs Now. So that is now in place because we now have, working with our new
Bank contract.
thank you, banking contract, which you guys approved. The Central Bank has worked well with us. They've done what they're supposed to do. And we're also looking at some other options, Lori's, where we would possibly reduce the number of physical checks that we write, because that is one avenue towards fraud. So we're looking at doing our work better and using technology to our advantage as much as we can. But I just want to make sure that you knew and we aren't hiding anything about what something that happened to us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that's all I have to say. Do you want to add anything, subtract anything?
No, not really, unless someone has a question.
I can say that the company I used to work for, we introduced positive pay, and it cleared up all of it. I mean, you can't cash a check through the bank unless it meets the data that you've already transmitted, saying the check number at this amount, and that type of information. So I mean, it stopped everything that happened to the previous company that I worked for.
When did the first check come to the city's attention?
It was,
Actually, you got a call from a bank in Indiana
right.
wanting to verify funds on a check, which is typically what most banks do. It depends on what their threshold is. And I think that's when it first came to Heather's attention.
I believe it was a week, not this past Friday, but a week ago,
Sounds right.
the Friday before. And it was a bank that, so there was an attempt for a fifth check that was not cashed.
Thank you.
That seems like that would be a good lead right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's others. And yeah, there are actual human beings who actually cash these checks too. So there are different options and different ways there are different leads towards getting, but it's likely that those people who actually cash the checks had very little knowledge of the whole operation. Doesn't mean they were, so I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm all for the implementation of positive pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a perfect
Yeah.
response.
That was in the contract that we just approved.
For several years now, we've been making that mandatory for any contract we bid on because of the nature of that.
Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments on the subject?
We did get great cooperation from the Central Bank.
Thank you, Laura.
Moving on to bills over $1,250. There's a check listed that has no name. It's Sellenbrick Construction.
That
100, the last one.
That's the last one.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Is the Ozark applicators, is that the power washing?
Yep. Yeah, and I think there was, they didn't raise their price, there's something else on there that they did for us. So, yes, the answer to your question is that is higher than the amount we approved, but there was, I'll show you in the, there was something else, I can't remember exactly what it was. They do a lot of inspections for us,
I got you.
but they charged us what they said they would charge us for the cleaning. And I think, I think at this point, we can maintain that for a long time with every other year or so. Shooting with the wire hose.
Because I knew it was weird. Any questions on? Right, hearing none, moving on to other general government comprehensive plan survey preliminary data.
And this is where the intern gets his chance to shine. Once he remembers to turn on the projector again.
First things first.
Yeah.
454 responses, that's pretty good.
Actually, we had a couple more trickle in after that, so. It compares to, you know, we got as many as 200 once for the fall survey, so. And this is much longer, so I was very pleased with the response. It's not the 1,000 that they got in 1987, and we did have the option of online.
I think they went door to door in 87.
Having some technical difficulties up here.
I don't
There-
think there was any.
You might, there's computer 1, computer 2, so you might check the source.
Well, like the computer isn't waking up.
Oh. Waking up now.
That, there.
That's. Oh, everything's see your password now.
Maybe down at the barbecue bash.
Apologies for that brief pickup.
After the drinking started.
There's always something.
Right.
When I worked with the city of Columbia, or the solid waste management district, Ray Beck would always say, these things never work, you just need an overhead projector. Yeah.
So I've been working on analyzing some of the data on the back end of the comprehensive survey plan that went out about 3 months ago. And this presentation has some of the key insights that I found. Starting off with the basic services of Centralia, public library, electric utility, fire services, water, parks, rec, and the sewer utilities were all rated very highly, as well as the police services. It's worth noting that although police isn't quite as high as the library or electric, sitting a little bit above 70%, it is higher than the national rate for average national rate for police.
There's something called a National Citizen Survey, and a lot of these questions are similar, although not copied from that survey in any way. And if you look at other cities of similar size, the parks always are high. The police, it's pretty typical to be in the 60, good is 60, 65, 70, but in other places you'll see it below 50%. It's not unusual. That's it, yeah, so I'm sorry.
No worries.
What he said, I just like to use more words.
The only two areas of note that respondents to the survey seemed dissatisfied by were street maintenance and sidewalk maintenance. A few other things that are worth pointing out: the trash collection approval rating hovers right around 60%, which is lower than it's historically been. It's been closer to 80 to 90 in the past. This probably has a lot more to do with the transition of services than anything else. We'll have to look at data for coming years of this survey to determine whether the dip in approval is from an actual dissatisfaction with the services provided or if there's just an adjustment to change. And for the recycling collection part, the more people rated neutral or no opinion, Then they did good rapport, which might suggest apathy towards recycling services, but it also might just suggest a lack of knowledge that enables them to be more aware of the services. As far as the utility policy goes, 47.41% of survey participants responded either strongly agree or agree to being willing to pay a few dollars per month for a stormwater utility if it would improve the storm drainage. However, 58.04% responded strongly disagree or disagree to the additional $2.50 per month trash bill upcharge and, footing the bill for the curbside yard waste leaf bags.
And I'm gonna interrupt just for a second here. Have you noticed the slide that really kind of brings out by putting in a chart what people like and the services that we don't like? The other one that where red was highest was stormwater. You all hear about our problems with stormwater. I thought that was pretty encouraging that almost 50% said yes, and then there was another undecided. So that's a possibility. It is encouraging. And your decision not to put yard waste as another service and add that was, you did the right thing by the people who responded to the survey. That's not something that they wanted to pay more for. So that's, I just want to point that out.
As far as the transportation concerns of Centralia residents, the two categories that were rated highest priority, these questions were only rated high, medium, and low. 50.92% of respondents ranked improvements to the intersection of Highway 22 and Jefferson Street as high priority, and 51.61% ranked widening Highway 124 between Centralia and Hallsville as high priority. And on this following slide, you can see the breakdown of the percentages with all 7 items that were included in the transportation section on the comprehensive survey plan.
And if you're, we also asked them to I think we asked them to do 1 to 7 on these, and the widening of Jefferson Street there is a little bit, it's a number 1 priority with a little bit of more people than you would guess from this. It's a very low priority for a lot of people. So basically, we don't have to spend any more money because all the problems are MoDOT problems. So we don't. I'm kidding. I mean, but the ones that they're most upset about, or most of them are state projects. I would also say though, this is important for us to have this data, because when it comes to going to ask MoDOT when we say, hey, would you address this concern, we now have data that say this is this is a high priority for the citizens of the city of Centralia. So it's either a high or medium priority for 86 or 87% of citizens in Centralia to improve that intersection at Highway 22 and Jefferson. So that is important data when we ask for like a grant to study that or to fix that, so, or ask MoDOT to fix that. So.
Traffic light or something.
Exactly. Sorry.
No worries.
I should have warned you. I just can't.
No, this is good. It adds extra context to the information that I provided. So an important thing to note about this slide is for the question on attracting industry to Centralia, they were asked to rank these categories from 1 to 8, and this only reflects the percentage of people that ranked each of those the most important. This is not a reflection of the weighted averages of each of these categories, just what people ranked most important. 28.5% rated manufacturing companies as the top priority for Centralia to attract. 24.21% rated more better restaurants as the top priority, and 19.8% rated daycare as the most important thing to attract. As far as shopping trends in Centralia over the last 5 years go, 42.62% reported an increase over the last 5 years, 43.09% reported no substantive change, and only 14.29% recorded a decrease in the amount of shopping that they've done in Centralia over the last 5 years. As far as economic development concerns go, 67.6% of participants responded either strongly agree or agree to downtown Centralia needing more events to bring in shoppers, and 60.71% responded the same way to Centralia should invest money in improving the appearance in downtown because it would increase business, which is directly related to the previous point that respondents felt strongly about. Parks and Recreation, over half of the survey respondents reported that strongly agree or agree on Centralia developing a walking trail system, building an indoor aquatic center, and expansion of the recreational center. And to finish off this presentation on a high note, an overwhelming majority, 93.77% and 94.46%, responded either strongly agree or agree to Centralia being a good place to raise a family, and overall I feel safe in Centralia. So there's a note of positivity in the presentation.
I think Sam just picked up on the fact that the meeting had been running very long, but there's a lot of really good, he gleaned a lot of really good information out of there, and I think he made some good points. And I think that the other thing is, this data and the data from the first slide are similar to what we've asked in previous surveys, and it kind of validates what we've seen before with a much higher participation rate. So, yeah, all in all, I think this also gives us momentum to get back into finishing up the comprehensive plan. So.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's lots more data where that came from.
You bet.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Anything else on that before we move on?
Yeah, one other general government. I think we have already declared 824 a surplus car. It's within my duties that I can do that, but if somebody would make a motion just so we have it for certain, so we can sell that. That wasn't stopping me, but since he brought it up, if we did it again, it would not hurt my feelings.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other? Any as may arise? Yes, sir.
Got an invite for the nursing home out here that
You're a little young.
Yeah,
June.
Yeah.
Come out and celebrate certified, what is it, career nursing assistants.
Certified
Day.
nursing.
Certified nursing assistants day. I'm gonna be out there Thursday at 1:30, and we'll issue a proclamation for that. They've got one of their CNAs out there that's been there 23 years.
Wow.
And so this is, I guess, National CNA Week. So, what's that? Yeah. Yeah, Heritage Hall.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have, thank you.
You have some?
I just want to remind you, well, I guess it's early, it's very early, but the registration for the MML conference in September is open, and it'd be nice to get a good contingent. I think that actually conflicts with a meeting date. The other thing is, to ponder between now and next Monday, we have a meeting scheduled for Monday, July 3rd. It might be a good time to maybe cancel that and double up on the 10th. Unless everybody's planning to be here and just assume have it on July 3rd, but something like
It's a long weekend.
that. Yeah, I would imagine that would be something that people wouldn't mind getting rid of that meeting.
Probably not gonna get my golf game, so.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think proactively
Right.
rather than end up not
So,
having a quorum.
think about that this week, and we can make that decision next Monday.
Because we will have a planning and zoning on June 22nd. We have an application for the Board of Adjustment, which none of you guys sit on, so you don't have to worry about that. And we're also gonna have an EEZ meeting sometime in the not too distant future, so.
A lot of stuff going on.
Just for the staff, not just me, but the rest of the staff, having one less agenda would not break anyone's plans.
Any other as may arise? I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We stand adjourned.
You know?
Button first.